Hello, everyone. Welcome back to yet another political episode. This isn't, however, yet another political episode. In fact, I would say this is a very concerning and very, I would say, respectful political episode. We need to acknowledge that Trump derangement syndrome has gotten to the point that anyone that supports Trump or loves Trump or just Trump in general, their lives are at stake. And we got to talk about an we know it's an assassination attempt. The liberal media was like alleged assassination attempt. That was during last night, which the assassination attempt was conducted against President Trump, who was attending a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. Thomas Matthew Crooks is a 21-year-old Pennsylvania, as you know, a 21-year-old Pennsylvania native. And this guy is very interesting. And now we got to I think we should go ahead and cover, since I mentioned Mr. Matthew Crooks, or whatever your name is, and kind of go over his story and background. He's my age. I'm 20 years old. It kind of really it kind of I don't know how it makes me feel, but to know someone my age did something so stupid, and of course the consequence, he lost his life because of it. It's I feel I feel angry, but I also feel disappointed because did I want Mr. Crooks to lose his life? Of course not. I've seen so many Trump supporters that are celebrating his death. Here's the thing, guys. I want to beg you guys that are angry with Mr. Crooks. It's okay to have those feelings, but we should never celebrate death towards someone. That's not what conservatives stand for. The liberals keep linking us to Adolf Hitler and the Nazis celebrating the death of millions of Jews. And we, as a conservative movement, have did a very good job convincing that we as a Republican Party denounce that. And when we go and cheer and say, I'm glad they got the guy, I will tell you, it does not make us look good. It's not Christian. I will tell you this. I'm glad they stopped the guy, would be a better way of putting it. Yes, it's frustrating. And you know what? I honestly, if I was the Secret Service, I would shoot him dead. I would. Because I could imagine these Secret Service members, they are dreading the day where they have to shoot someone dead. Because you're taking a life. You're not affecting that person's life, but you're affecting the person's family's life. The loved ones. But you do it because you know it's the right thing to do. Now it seems Mr. Thomas Matthew Crooks has an interesting background. Mr. Crooks is a Republican, a registered Republican. But I would argue to say he is a Republican in name only, because he went as far as supporting the Biden campaign in 2020, not only voting. No, he didn't vote. He didn't vote. He didn't get to vote. He was too young to vote in 2020, unless he voted illegally, which I would not be surprised. But I could definitely, he was a cheerleader for Biden, despite being a registered Republican. I honestly think about it, guys. This guy could actually be a Democrat, but he registered as a Republican to support Nikki Haley in the primary. But the only con of that The only con to that, though, Nikki Haley dropped out before Pennsylvania got to vote in the primaries. So that eliminates that con. But then again, there are a lot of liberals, so-called Democrats, liberals that are Republican. I could list so many. There are more rhinos than dino Democrats. Democrat in name only. And and we don't really see the rhino youth that often. We don't really see the rhino youth. And it seems as if Mr. Thomas Matthew Crooks comes from the rhino youth, despite being a registered Republican. I honestly want to know more of a backstory, but because he's a registered Republican, the Democrats are saying, "Oh, this means this must be a conspiracy. Republicans must have staged it." No, honestly, and they're like saying, "Case closed. The Republicans staged the assassination of Donald Trump. Case closed altogether." No. Here's the funny thing. You think we're so stupid? Do you think Trump is stupid that he would hire a hitman to to basically hire him and pay someone to shoot him? Here's the thing. Donald Trump knows he's going to win this election. When I tell you guys, Donald Trump's going to win this election, he's going to win this election. The Democrats screwed it. They screwed it and blew it. Bill Maher, I don't know what your name is, Bill. Yeah, big Trump deranged comedian. But yeah, he addressed the issue and he said Democrats are screwed because of this. Here's the funny thing. We could go back to Japan in 2022. What happened when Shinzo Abe was assassinated? Oh my goodness. When Shinzo Abe was assassinated, the Japanese conservative movement, House of, basically, actually, that was 2021. Excuse me. But yeah, Shinzo Abe, when he was assassinated, the right destroyed, just wiped out all across Japan. You'll see the liberal Democratic Party, 34.66, not a majority of Japanese, but then again, that is 14 points more than the Constitutional Democratic Party. So yeah, liberal Democratic Party, right wing. And when I say right wing, it's right wing. It's not center right, it's right wing. But this is the party of Shinzo Abe, a right wing populist and the former prime minister of Japan. That said, to go into the defense mode, Japan is a country where right wing politics is pretty popular. The country is extremely anti-communist and anti-socialist, and they have reason to be because they have North Korea and they have Chinese propaganda, and you have those two countries. They're trying to seek into Japanese technology and Japanese media. So yes, then again, Japan, they're extremely anti-communist, where they can appear to come out as far right as sometimes, but to not far right to the point like the left likes to say, abusing human rights. And no, they're just they're right wing, like anti-communism. That's it. We're going to ban all communist parties, etc. So yes, and people are saying, oh, the assassination, will this the attempted assassination of Donald J. Trump play out the same pattern as the Japanese one? Well, there's a little bit different, and I talked about it. I mentioned it. A couple of similarities. Number one, Japan has always been a conservative, right-wing country, and we know this because of World War II. But you would think, oh, World War II, communist communism would eventually take over. Well, that's what everyone was thinking. Majority of the people in the United States was saying, "Oh yeah, Japan. I doubt Japan's going to be an ally of the United States." But guess what? Japan held out because the Japanese demonized communism so much that it continues to the present day, and they have more reason to do it now because then again, back then you had two you had three powers to worry about. You had the North Koreans, the Chinese, and the Soviets. Now the Soviets are gone. But then again, you have the Russians, and the Russians aren't friendly with the Japanese. But then you could compare them into the bunch. But you get what I'm saying. What I'm saying is comparing possible election results, we jump into the fact that Shinzo Abe ended up succumbing to his injuries, ended up being shot dead. I don't know if he was shot dead, but but hang on, Shinzo Abe. I want to see. Did you die in 2022? If you died in 2022, oh, you died in 2022. Shoot. So these elections actually happened before his death. Shoot. Okay. Yeah, there were a series of elections, but I guess there were minor elections. So I was looking at the wrong one. My bad. And that explains why 23 that went down, but you get what I'm saying. But yes, this could very well solidify a Trump victory altogether. And yeah, you'll see polling wise, Biden gained a poll. Good review. But yeah, that was before the assassination attempt. It's gonna go up. Joe is done. Done, and he's going to go up to 4. I can guarantee you, up possibly 5. I'm expecting Donald Trump to breach and break his record set after the Iowa caucus, where he essentially won by 4 points near the end of January. But that all being said, I want to continue to talk about the attack. And we need to go back and really reflect on what we need to do when this sort of stuff happens. First off, I want to talk about this. I am not happy by this attack. I am not celebrating. And I can guarantee you, the majority of Trump supporters do not celebrate this. They do not stand for this. This is anti-American. Yes, realistically, this helps Trump a lot, but we don't say that. I know I said it a couple minutes ago, but realistically, I should have addressed this first. But I'm all over the place. This is going to be a longer video. It's just a hard thing, an unexpected. I never thought I'd be talking about this because, believe it or not, I've talked about. I told everyone Trump will probably be shot at someday because I predicted this. Go back a couple videos, a couple months. It's in there somewhere. I remember specifically saying, "Yep, one of these days they're going to be on the last resort. They're going to shoot this guy. I can guarantee you because I think it was when he was convicted. They're going, and I said, yeah, they're going to shoot this guy because they have no other choice. And guess what? I didn't see it coming though. I was like, okay, it didn't really play out as I was kind of expecting. I'm like Butler, Pennsylvania. It's not really big area, but Butler, Pennsylvania is very tiny, very small. I'm like, okay, he's essentially safe there. And of course, I jinxed it, and he gets shot. Of course, I just jinxed it. But yes, I essentially predicted this. It's pathetic because we know, guys, if we are sane enough to understand how the media works, this is what happens. If you bring back Adolf Hitler, what do you think a lot of people would do? There would be middle fingers, right? There would be screaming. There would be acts of violence. I wonder how if Adolf Hitler would make it a day without being shot at. Then when you have Joy Reid pulling out her phone and TikToking to all her NPCs that are programmed to like every post she posts, and she goes and says, "We got to do what we can to keep Hitler out of the White House," and that she would vote for Biden in a coma over Donald Trump because Donald Trump is Hitler. When you make that comparison, you are responsible for the consequence, for the actions that, or the reactionary response that is taken upon the individual that you are demonizing. So when you have Joy Reid saying Trump is Hitler, or Trump's becoming king, or Trump is a dictator, that very well justifies people, basically says, hey, you know what? Trump's a threat to democracy. They can't put him in jail. We have no choice but to kill him, and I'm going to be the hero. They justify their act of taking the life of an elected official, the President of the United States, by using the demonized language in the media that Trump is a threat to democracy. And once again, the Biden campaign and the White House, they say that. And then you have, Trump a threat to democracy, and you have basically the conspiracies that he's related to Nazis and that he is Hitler and all that stuff. And you say, all right. And you basically say, you compare yourself to Klaus von Stauffenberg. And let's take a look at Klaus von Stauffenberg. This is a little bit of a history video, but yes, Stauffenberg, interestingly enough, he was actually executed, surprisingly. He must have, they essentially caught him, but yes, he was caught in an attempt to assassinate Adolf Hitler. And he must have been caught because it's saying he was executed. But yes, and notice when we talk about Klaus von Stauffenberg in history and documentaries, we never demonize him. We never say what he did was wrong, because we know Hitler is the most evilest guy on the planet. It doesn't matter if people try to kill him. We essentially praise the people that try to kill Hitler, like Klaus von Stauffenberg. You essentially have a movie made in his honor, Valkyrie. So when you compare Donald Trump to someone that is okay to hate, it's okay to kill Hitler because he's the most evilest person. When you compare someone in general, Donald Trump in this case, to Hitler, you're basically saying it's okay to perform acts of violence towards Trump because he's essentially the modern day Hitler in the world, and specifically in the United States. So the liberal media is giving you the A-OK, giving you the thumbs up to basically take your revolver and go and shoot Trump. In this case, a sniper. But what you guys don't understand, what we don't realize, is the liberal media has been loading up snipers and rifles for 8 years. They've been doing this for 8 years. And they just waited for one man or a woman, it doesn't really matter, it just has to be a TDS idiot, to pick up the revolver and do something stupid with it. And that man was Thomas Matthew Crooks, a so-called Republican. And everyone's saying, oh, There it goes. It was an exposed. It was a Republican plot. It was staged. No, 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 no. Well, we know we know Joe Scarborough isn't staged. This guy is full blown Trump deranged. Joe Scarborough of MSNBC, BSDNC, and former congressman from Florida. What a joke. What a joke you are. So essentially, Klaus von Stauffenberg, no, what am I getting? Joe Scarborough is actually tricking and we know better that MSNBC would never ever allow Joe Scarborough onto their network if he didn't bow down and prostrate himself to the agenda of the Democrat Party. Ronna McDaniel tried to go to MSNBC, and I don't understand why she would do such. She claims she's a conservative. What the heck? And she's essentially thinking, they're just doing their job. There's reality centrists. No, she knows better, because if they were centrists, you would have been allowed on the program. Essentially, they credit Ronna McDaniel and they say the GOP has been harassing her because she's a woman. And they say all this stuff. And they're considering letting her on the program. But the problem was she didn't do the anti-Trump tap dance correctly. She kind of messed up a little bit. She tripped on her shoelaces while performing the dance with, I don't know, your Joy Reid or whatever you want to have. And they're like, actually, we don't think this will be a match. And in fact, the whole MSNBC network ended up revolting. Because essentially, Ronna McDaniel said, you know what? We hold those who are counted account, who were responsible for January 6th. And but overall, once again, there should be, as you know, we support truth and facts, and those who weren't involved in January 6th should be released. But here's the thing. She didn't demonize Trump. She didn't say Trump bad, Trump evil, Trump guilty for not recognizing the election results. She refused to do that, so she didn't go on the program. That's how it goes. So yes, Mr. the Shooter is a Republican. That's a fact. That they came up and they said that's his voter registration. But there are lots of questions and eyebrows thinking, okay, is he really a Republican? Or is he one of the Liz Cheneys or the Mitt Romneys or the Joe Scarboroughs? Is he a part of that family of the Republican Party? Because believe me, guys, there are people that are full-blown left-wing that are Republicans, that are part of the RNC, and they're just Republicans just to screw you up. Their job is to essentially overthrow the conservative platform of the Republican Party. They want a left-wing country. What's the point of joining a political party if that's already left-wing, that already embraces your ideology, while you can join the opposite party and start a revolution against the right-wing platform? This is a rhetoric that a lot of anti-Republican, anti-Democrats do. This is what they do. We know that Mr. Crooks is indeed not a Trump fan, because they will come and run to Mr. Crook's defense and they'll say, oh, he's suicidal. Oh, he was bullied in school. Oh, he had depression. Oh. Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing, guys. It takes a lot, despite having depression and being motivated by suicide. It takes a lot of motivation to get out of your bed, because a lot of people with suicide and depression, they don't want to get out of their beds, and they often sit in their beds in their rooms all day because they have zero motivation. But the fact that this guy had a motivation to go out of his bed, grab a sniper, a BB gun, and drive up north to Butler. I don't know where he resides, Mr. Crooks. It doesn't really matter at this point. It really doesn't matter. The point was he got out of his house. No, yeah, there's his body. Okay, we don't need to see that. But anyway, the point is he got out of his house. He drove. I don't know how many. I'm assuming he might be a Butler resident. Doesn't really matter to me. He drove, and he went through the trouble. He saw that, hey, we can't go in. They background check for guns. But Mr. Crooks found a solution. Here's the thing. If you didn't really care that much, you didn't have a motive to do this, you would essentially drive off, say it's not worth it. But instead, Mr. Crooks said, hey, you know what? I'm going to find a way to carry this assassination. And essentially, he finds this open area. This open, secluded area. Sure, they have the Secret Service on the roof. They do that for every rally, just in case of this happens. And then you have the inevitable, what you thought would never happen, it actually happens. The president is shot. The president ends up being shot. And the way he was shot, this man could have shot the president anywhere. He could shoot him in the heart. He could shoot him in the belly. But he decides to shoot him in the head. He wanted a JFK-like assassination where a full decapitation would be performed. This clearly shows that if you weren't Trump deranged, or you were just assigned, or you were hired just to kill someone, you wouldn't be going to that extreme. But this man went as far as attempting to shoot the President of the United States in the neck, essentially. I don't know. We don't know. We can't jump into his brain at the moment of what he was thinking. I don't think that's beyond of what our ability is. But his attempt was to aim at the head, the most private, the most sensitive, most fragile part of the body. Mr. Crooks, age 20, knows this. Third graders knows this. And he's smart. Mr. Crooks is smart. And he essentially takes this revolver or whatever gun. I don't really care what type of gun it was. It was a weapon. And that weapon was used in the attempt to kill. He shot it at President Trump. And his intention was to shoot him dead at the spot. A lot of people, even myself for a little bit, I said, okay, this guy has to be suicidal. But then I'm like, hey, I can't, coming up with a theory, hey, would a suicidal person go through the trouble to kill a president? Like, if you were an unbiased suicidal, if you aren't, politics isn't your concern, and your concern is just the misery of life, you wouldn't go through your whole entire day plotting an assassination, not on the president, but on the former president, who's not the president right now. This is the very first assassination conducted on a president who's not serving, well, actually, wrong, Roosevelt. Yeah, I forget Roosevelt. This is the second time an assassination is carried out to kill the president who is not currently serving as president, non-incumbent to a non-incumbent president. The first time being, as you know, um, Theodore Roosevelt. He ended up giving the speech. And the left goes, oh, Trump, he should have stayed at the rally. He just got hit in the ear. Here's the thing. Guys. The left, they keep reminding us how bad guns have gotten these days. So I'm not surprised what the Secret Service was so urgent and insistent that Trump must leave the rally and seek medical assistance. Back then in 1912, I want to believe that was where Roosevelt was shot. I don't know if it was in Wisconsin, but he was shot. Their guns weren't a problem. People kept to themselves. People ultimately understood the consequence of guns. You decide to shoot someone, guess what? You owe the consequence. You're either going to get shot back, or you're going to get arrested, or essentially hanged or executed. The assassin that decided to attempt to kill Theodore Roosevelt understood this and just pursued it anyway. I don't know what happened to him, but I can guarantee you he paid the consequence. Going and Theodore Roosevelt, sure, it's him personally, didn't feel concerned. But I can see Donald Trump, the boldness. I want to see a picture of Mr. President Trump. That boldness, that bold face. Look at that. Not amused. He essentially got shot in the ear, grazed his ear, barely took his life. Barely. And Donald Trump looks like the same Donald Trump we see all the time. The same Donald Trump we see at his rallies. Not only that, but he refuses to leave. I mean, he cooperated with the authorities. He, of course, gave in because, once again, I think he knew it was. I think he knew that, once again, it would be people were shot, other people have been hurt, they need medical assistance, and we need to begin the investigation immediately. So, yeah, Trump wouldn't have been finished that rally anyway. I think the writing was on the wall, so he just went. And I think urgently he was in pain. Let's be honest. You were shot in the ear. We all saw the footage. He was like, ow. When have we heard Trump say, ow? It takes a bullet, a gunshot, to make him say, ow. So, yeah, definitely he was in pain. Definitely. And he cooperated, but he wasn't in a rush. Like a lot of people, understandably and justifiably, were jumping out of the bleachers, but Donald Trump didn't fear for his life. He clenched his fist, telling the American people, I got shot, but a true leader would never, ever drop out because of that. And I've seen a lot of Trump critics praise him for that. A lot. He raises his fist and he vows to keep fighting. It was an act of God that bullet hadn't missed him. It's a fact. And not only that, I want to tell you, Donald Trump's the only president to take a cognitive test. I say that with the bottom of my heart. Donald Trump doesn't need to take another cognitive test. He took one already. Donald Trump took the best and most accurate cognitive test in the country or in the world. This man was shot. If he was cognitively impaired like Joe Biden wouldn't even get up. He would have been on the ground for an hour until they came up. But Donald Trump did his part. Sure, this guy was shot in the head. He is going to be some sort of delirium, right? I mean, he was shot in the head. Duh. So yeah, of course he's going to need help getting up according to the Secret Service. You don't go up to someone who's been shot and say, get up yourself. No. Who does that? But if it's Donald Trump, you can go ahead and expect Donald Trump to get up. But no, Donald Trump did the most. He used his legs despite being dizzied by that shot right by the ear. Imagine the ringing in his ear, the overwhelming ringing. He gets up and he stands and he raises his fist, letting us know he's okay. And you have that great American flag in the background, reminding us that God spared our president last night. A very historic moment for America. The thing about special about this moment in American history when it comes to political assassination attempts, Ronald Reagan, of course, rightfully so, was so quick to get out of the scene. You have other attempts, even successful attempts like JFK. Gruesome footage that we can't even watch. Heck, there isn't any footage relating to Lincoln's assassination. But we have paintings. But this is probably the only assassination where we have an actual legit historical photo. This photo is going to be in history books. It's going to be in the history books. This is going to be the photo. Essentially, Reagan got the credit. He was the recent president to be shot and survived the assassination attempt. You essentially have others that I don't really like to count. I believe every president had a conspiracy. You would say you had Bush. There was a conspiracy of trying to blow Bush up. But did that actually happen? No. There is no real evidence of actually trying to make that happen. So there's no real, like I said. But we saw this happen. Yeah, Gerald Ford. But Gerald Ford was just fine. Donald Trump was shot in the head. Guess who else was shot? James Garfield. And he didn't die right away, unlike McKinley. I don't know if McKinley died right away, but McKinley, as far as we know, Lincoln for sure died right away. Or, no, he didn't necessarily. JFK for sure died right away. But I think Garfield took the longest to succumb to the gunshot. You could technically say, oh, he died from the gunshot wound. And I guarantee you, if Trump ever um, succumbed to the bullet wound that he had received, and he won't. He's making a great recovery. He grazed his ear, but what it looks like is he's making a good recovery. He's on his way to Milwaukee. And they wouldn't have discharged him if he wasn't fine. But if he had ever succumbed to the bullet wound, there's no doubt about it. The liberal media, they would say, oh, it was an assassination attempt because he died from the bullet wound. Well, guess what? Then essentially Garfield wasn't assassinated. You're basically telling us to get rid of all the history books. You can call it misinformation. James A. Garfield wasn't assassinated because he died from a bullet wound. No, you wouldn't. Because, once again, if it's Donald Trump, you could do whatever you want. Yes, if Trump ever succumbed to the bullet wound infection, but where did the bullet wound infection come from? The assassin's bullet. He's the reason why he died. But thank goodness we have our president. And he seems to be more stronger than ever. And he's going to have us win in November. This guy is probably the most determined man in the world, and they want to stop him. And if you guys are all questioning that he's still in this for his self-gain, you're deluded. You're delusional. If this was your attempt to seek the presidency in your own self-gain, you would essentially think about yourself and say, I can't do it. Donald Trump, weak and in a delirium, could have laid there and processed everything like a lot of people would do. But he got up. And not only that, but he told us right away that he would continue fighting, not for him. It was never about him. It was always for America. It was always for us. It was always. And as I speak, there are a lot of Trump supporters that are patriotic, but there are a lot of Trump supporters that are angry. And I want to speak to those supporters. I want you to be careful. I've heard a lot of Republicans say some things that aren't really smart to say on television. Specifically, on the regards to the immigration crisis. One individual referred to the illegal immigrants as animals and savages. I want to avoid that language. We know why this guy is saying it, because he's angry. He's saying it out of emotion. If he wasn't angry and this didn't happen, I don't think he would have, hopefully. But then again, we know what the liberal media is going to try to do. They're going to equip that footage. I can guarantee you you'll probably see it, because the liberal media, they work with each other. They'll archive that footage and they'll prove to you that Trump supporters are racist. But the thing is, we seem to forget that Trump supporters are human. Trump supporters are human. If this guy is saying negative things about illegal immigrants, imagine the families of those lost in the shooting. Oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah, you don't want, and you're going to call them racist. That's the last thing. The last thing you want to do is call someone who lost their loved one in the most gruesome way, watched their loved one shot down by a bullet in a graphic manner, in a manner that TV and television would blur. I mean, look at that. They blurred the body of Mr. Crooks. And Mr. Crooks didn't really have blood on him. I mean, he did have blood, but he was totally covered up and blocked off by the roof. But they still demonetized him. Imagine seeing the body of a woman or a man, I don't even know, who wished to do nothing wrong. Oh yeah, attending a Trump rally and supporting hate is very wrong. Yeah, according to your BS DNC. And I would also add, watching that network is also wrong because literally you're helping loading the pistols. The pistols are all loaded on a table. CNN, ABC, MSNBC, they load pistols every night and every day by demonizing Trump, calling him Hitler and king and dictator, a threat to democracy, and that the country this is the end of America and this will be a dictatorship. Yeah, they're equipping the guns. They're basically saying, hey, here are free guns. Who's going to be the one to take it? A lot of the BS DNC viewers, cowards. And it's not just that, but they knew that morally that wasn't right. Thankfully, they know that. But there's a lot of deluded BS DNC viewers that think, oh, Trump should have his rights taken away because he's a bad person. That happens to me, Mr. Crooks, who took the rifle from the table and went forward. I want to see this investigated. This is an assassination on the president. A lot of conservatives are saying we don't need an investigation. We know what happened. Well, you know what? You just never know. What if it could be worse? What if the DNC is involved? I don't know if the DNC is involved. Most likely not. 70% chance they're not. But then again, like the January 6th insurrection, which the Democrats don't want to investigate at all, we need to bring justice for those who died this day. Last night. Justice for those who died last night. Trump is now on his way to the National Convention in Milwaukee. And he's going to win a historic landslide while he's there. Nikki Haley has released all the delegates. I hope, honestly, Trump at least gives a thank you to her. I mean, honestly, I think she's trying to do her part. I don't like Nikki Haley, but hey, she supposedly gave you a boost up, an advantage. I would at least thank her, not turn around. Yeah, I mean, those delegates she didn't have to do that. She could have those delegates and convince other delegates to go and vote for her because Trump's unfit to be president. But yeah. So I'm going to give her credit when credit's due. Let's not be hypocritical. But yes. Anyway, what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below. And as always, see you all in the next political episode.